My name is Nickel, and in this video I wanted to talk to you guys about a pretty bizarre series of events that have unfolded in the Overwatch community lately. So there was a thread on the official Overwatch forums called "YouTuber posts himself doing illegal stuff." And this linked to a video that showed a guy who claimed to have hacked a 14-year-old girl who was a top 500 Mercy main, who he believed boosted, cheated, and win traded her way to get there. And in that video, he tries to show some evidence of that.
Some people might ask how we got this account. We blatantly hacked into it. That's what we did.
But across both the subreddit and the official forums, the biggest issue that a lot of people seem to have with this is the fact that he claimed that he hacked into her account, and in the process of the video, he released a lot of her private messages. So for that reason, I'm just going to refer to him as the hacker in quotes, because we'll get to what actually happened a little bit later on, and the girl will refer to as the Mercy main. So the video where he does this starts off by showing some of her season highs, which include a season 6 high of over 4,500, and the fact that 109 of those hours were all spent on Mercy. Everything else was basically 15 minutes or less. And it seems like the reason why most people thought that he actually did hack into this account, besides the fact that he said he hacked into this account, was because of how excited he seemed when he was in the main menus of it, as if he just got into it.
Holy crap, as you can tell, I'm very awestruck. This is the actual account.
So from that point, he basically joins a couple games, and when people look at his profile, assuming he's going to be playing Mercy because the account has so many hours on Mercy, he ends up choosing some other characters, and for a lot of the games, it seems like he throws them in order to make her lose SR, which, as most of you guys know, is also against the terms of service, just like boosting would be. Neither one of them are things you're supposed to be doing.
Nah, he's gonna go Mercy, don't worry, man.
What is this crosshair?
Right? Yeah, he's gonna go Mercy, don't worry, man.
I'm getting scared now.
What the
Why? Okay.
Why are you trolling? I don't get it. I actually don't understand why you're trolling. Like, where's the joy? Whatever, dude.
I hacked this Mercy's account, and now I'm trolling.
So because of this, a lot of people actually do get really angry at him, since they think that he is actually deliberately throwing. So he actually says that the main point of the video was to make her lose SR, but he actually did leave a bunch of games in order to getting her account closer to being banned.
The main goal of this video was mostly to make her lose SR. It honestly didn't have to do with trolling GM ranks too much. Obviously, we definitely trolled quite a few games, but we definitely also left quite a few games, giving the account quite a lot of bans.
So after the threads around this video went up, the discussion around this whole situation exploded, and they were somewhat divided. If you looked on the comments of his video, there were a lot of people that were calling him a legend or a hero, or who also seemed to be angry at the Mercy player and felt that what he did here was justified. Because even though he claimed in the video that he did hack her, and he did seem excited about having access to her account, according to the description of the video, he actually wrote that she gave him access to the account. So it was a little bit confusing because it seemed like most of the comments that were in support of what he was doing weren't aware that he didn't actually hack the account, because up to that point, I'm guessing that was the only way you would have known that she gave him access. And the reason for her giving him access makes this whole thing even more confusing, and I think it's the reason why there was a bit of a divide on what people's opinions were on this whole situation. Obviously, hacking someone in any situation isn't something you should do, but since she gave it to him, it's somewhat unclear if they were in on it together or if she gave him access and then he went further than she expected. As far as I'm aware, that's something we don't know. And we also don't know if him sharing her DMs was part of the plan or not, which is the reason why I'm referring to them the way that I am. Because based on what we've seen here in this very public situation, that could just be a direct violation of privacy, which a lot of the comments in the threads pointed out very clearly and repeatedly. There were even some comments saying that people should download this video and possibly even report it to the police. One of the top comments posted 2 of his videos where he boosted a bronze account, and another one where he said he got banned for throwing, and the immediate follow-up comment to that was that he blames people for being boosted but offers boosted accounts. Someone named Tie-Dye gave an FYI saying that the guy who did this, the hacker in quotes, has a weird obsession with the Mercy main, who is about 14 years old. And according to this comment, he says he has videos of himself on his channel asking her creepy questions, with some of the videos labeled as exposing her, in which they mostly consist of him harassing or threatening her for being boosted to GM. And there were people on the other side of the fence as well that said that the Mercy player is very toxic and does cheat, win trade, and boost on her account. And one thing that kind of puts some of this into perspective is something said by someone named Snow Nymph, who said that the evil Mercy main I always see people complain about is actually a 14-year-old little girl, and grown men are finding finding her an acceptable bullying target. They're actually threatened by a child. Unbelievable. But like I said before, it's kind of confusing what the actual dynamic is here because he does have videos on his channel where he's actually talking to her. And on this thread, Bill Warnicki from Blizzard actually did respond and said, "Thank you for reporting this. I've sent this along to the right people to handle. We take this type of behavior really seriously, and the best place to report anything like this is directly with our customer service team. They're available 24/7. There was another response from a support forum agent who pretty much said the same thing. "Thank you for the report submitted to us. We take these type of issues very seriously, and an investigation is underway, and we'll be taking the necessary actions to address this." So anyway, after all this happened, the next day, he actually put out a video with a title that made it sound like he was banned and exposed. And right at the start, he shows screenshots where she apparently gives him access to her account. And then it cuts to a screen of him being unable to log in. And it looks like all of his accounts were actually banned. So this whole response is actually narrated by his editor, who reiterates that the Mercy main did give him access to his account and that he didn't actually hack it, even though he joked that he did in the original video. So he says that the only one of the claims that was coming at him that was actually true was the fact that he was throwing games, and that even though that was wrong, that boosted Mercy account didn't deserve to be at that rank because it was boosted there.
Sure, it was stupid, but honestly, it's a purchased boosted account. It doesn't deserve to be at that rank, especially for the person who bought it. Maybe for the person who boosted it, but not the person who bought it.
And since a lot of the claims were that the so-called hacker was cyberbullying the 14-year-old girl, the editor in this response video basically explains that all three of them are from Canada, and that according to him, the laws on cyberbullying in Canada mean that it has to fall under any of these categories: criminal harassment, uttering threats, intimidation, mischief in relation to data, unauthorized use of computer, identity fraud, extortion, false messages, counseling suicide, incitement of hatred, and defamatory libel. And he doesn't think that any of these were true, so therefore it wouldn't be considered cyberbullying. So this whole explanation basically ended with the question of, is it a double standard situation where people were so outraged because it was a 14-year-old girl, and if it was a full-grown man who was a pro player, would there be the same type of outrage?
If this video wasn't about a 14-year-old girl who broke Blizzard's terms of service by buying a higher boosted account, if it was the exact same video in every way but about a male pro player, would everyone still be as mad as they are? Personally, I don't think they would. It's double standards.
I think that if the account actually was hacked into and everything was leaked, then there's pretty much nothing that could ever excuse that, no matter who it's aimed at, whether it's a 14-year-old girl or a full-grown man. But in this case, it seems to be more complex than that, since they do have some kind of relationship that existed prior to the video. So like I mentioned at the start, this whole thing was very bizarre, and I honestly don't think there's enough information to definitively say one thing or another. Yes, of course, hacking is something you shouldn't do, but in this case, it sounds like that didn't happen, even if it came off that way in the original video. And if that Mercy account is a boosted account, that's obviously against the terms of service, but then again, so is throwing games repeatedly. So even in the situation where this was all coordinated and planned in advance, it's still doing something that Blizzard doesn't want anyone to do, because it affects the other players that are in the games with the boosted player or the player that is throwing games. So based on everything you guys have seen, let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. It was kind of crazy to see something blow up to this level, which obviously means that people have very strong opinions about this one way or another. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But either way, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.